Glenn Beck exposes and sounds the alarm of how much money we're actually wasting in just Minnesota. Now, this is not talking about California too. This is not talking about Doge and America-wide or worldwide and the waste of our tax dollars. But just in Minnesota. Now, what we need to realize is we need to quit talking about it and actually doing something about it. Pam Bondi needs to arrest people. Our Congress needs to quit spending money. Now, do I have high hopes for any of that? I don't. I'm sorry. But we're going to talk about what Glenn Beck said and how much of your money that you work so hard for is going towards some of these causes. Did you know the homeless encampment situation in California, about $5 million a year per homeless person is what the federal government and other governments and the state taxes are going to pay for homeless encampments. That's why they'll never get rid of homelessness, because they're making money off of them. Your tax dollars going for that. And you got to pay taxes this year, and already paid taxes all last year, but people get free everything because the government is willing to give it. Wait till you hear the money that goes to Minnesota, and we'll talk a little bit about California. Also, we're going to discuss what Joe Rogan said about Christianity, about the church. Now, he has a long ways to go, but it is encouraging. The biggest podcaster in the world is dabbling with understanding church a little bit more. Now, that's not a human perspective. That's a spiritual thing. God can do amazing things right now through revival, through people. I love what he is saying here, and we'll see where it kind of goes from here. If it changes the way he speaks and the mannerism he uses, if it does anything, if he actually has a life-changing thing. We'll talk about that as kind of the personal opinion part of today's video. And then also we're going to discuss Hollywood. Now, we hear influencers, we talk about Joe Rogan, we talk about Glenn Beck's news, but our Hollywood is telling us that ICE is worthless and that you should listen to them about everything. Now, a lot of these same people were just exposed in a lot of the lists, some of the A-listers here. But our celebrities come out and tell you how bad we are and tell you how much they want to make sure that the federal government's not doing anything to help the Main Street economics. We're going to discuss, does celebrities really hold weight anymore? Why do we care what they say? They're applauding the guys who went into the church. So it's against Christianity? Where's our conservative Christian music artist or movie artist? Few and far in between. We're going to discuss all this and so much more. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us the thumbs up. It means the world to us. It helps us spread our message across this platform. If you can hype it, please hype it. It helps us, again, to go across this platform and share, hopefully, a little thought-provoking comments and really some common sense, and hopefully we'll gain some wisdom as a group together. Now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about what Glenn Beck said, because I think this brings up, again, the importance of seeing the dangers of what we've got going on when it comes to the waste. I want you to listen to this. It says, Glenn Beck highlights newly released documents showing roughly, listen to this number, 1 million in cash now, per day was flown from Minnesota to Somalia for 2 straight years. It's around 700 million in cash. So our tax dollars are being wasted, billions upon billions. But 1 million each day was getting flown in cash from Minnesota to Somalia. Now, when you hear about people dogging out the fact that we're paying all these other countries, so what we're now doing is we're paying people who are here illegally, and then they're getting our money and taking it back overseas in cash. $700 million in the last 2 years. So over $1 million a day has been sent in cash to Somalia. And the people are still impoverished there. So where's that money going? And why are we allowing this money to filter into this? It's unbelievable. $1 million per day for 2 straight years. Let's give the stat on it for the last 2 years in Minnesota as the airport. Tell me why no one stopped to think that this millions of dollars flowing through the airport each and every day is not dangerous and probably should cause some red flags. It should have brought up a ton of red flags that millions of dollars a day was flying on commercial jets or private jets from this airport to Somalia. This is why we'll never stop the waste, fraud, and abuse. It's the same way that we'll never have the rest of the elites, we'll never the rest of the list people. Because why? Because the people that are in power are the ones doing it. You imagine, okay, so say for instance we know there's been about they said several $100 billion worth of waste in Minnesota. Say 100 billion. Let's just throw a number out there because it's easy. If of that 100 billion, let's say 30 billion goes to waste, fraud, and abuse on the local level, and then let's say another 30 billion goes to the big players that got that money where it's supposed to go: the Congress, the appropriations, the state, the governments, the federal government, all these little lobbyists, all these campaigns, and then you're left with another 20 or 30 billion. Well, that flows to the local people. That flows to the local people. That flows to the local people. That flows to local people. Oh, well, we have a few billion left because we're not using it. Well, let's use that to fly out, and we can just put it in cash, and we'll take it over and kind of get it out of here. See, when you think about $1 million per day, that's a lot of money to people like us. $1 million a year, $1 million in 5 years is a lot of money to people like us on Main Street. But at the extent of thinking hundreds of billions of dollars that have been lost under Tim Walz's governorship, and the fact that people like Ilhan Omar and them has gotten filthy rich, 25 to 30 million just in her coffers in the last year. So when you think about that, you're like, oh, that's not a lot of money, because we're worried about the waste, fraud, and abuse of the hundreds of billions of dollars. So they can just flow this money out of there. See, in the grand scheme of things, $1 million a day is nothing when our government is spending upwards of $4 to $5 trillion, $7 trillion in a year. $3 trillion of that is basically borrowed money. So we're borrowing money to then give it to people who then abuse it and then send it through cash overseas. And yet not one person at the airport says, we may need to see where this cash is going. This could be trafficking money. This could be dangerous money. This could be drug money. This could be some kind of fraud, some kind of problem. And no one flagged it. You know why? Because they imagine there was money all along the way from those airports, from those people, from the agents to get it out of here. This is why they pass these monster bills, is because they got to give a little bit of money all the way through. It truly is like we're living in Gotham. I know we always talk about these superhero movies because we want good to always win versus evil, but we literally are living in a time where everybody is pure evil. So therefore, I think that's why the waste, fraud, abuse will never stop. Now, before we start talking about the celebrities, let's go to what just happened, and Glenn Beck exposed this too. He said there's around $2 to $5 million going per homeless person in California. Now, California and Illinois both have about a $1 trillion pension problem, and they can't get out of it. They can't, quote unquote, bankrupt it. So therefore, they're already in debt up to their eyeballs. There is so much debt that's why they're trying to pass these wealth taxes, which will not pass, because what that is, these wealth taxes are actually seizure taxes. They're allowing the government to step in and get your net money after you've already paid taxes. They can step in and get more money. That's what this is. This is not just a billionaire tax. This is a seizure tax on any business owner in California. So we're already wasting $1 million a day, some group going to Somalia. Now we're wasting per homeless person that's not getting off the road $2 to $5 million a year. You know why we're doing that? And you know why they won't clean it up? Is because California is so in debt that they have to keep this homeless problem. So therefore the government keeps on giving money to it as a major existential crisis. And it's not. It's a manufactured crisis because they need the money. When you start thinking about these numbers, and I know it's zeros upon zeros upon zeros, millions and billions and trillions, and it's overwhelming. But here's the sad thing. Here's where we can bring it to reality. How hard was it to you to go fill up your car today? How hard was it to go to Walmart and spend $300 to $400 for 7 or 8 bags of groceries? How hard was it to pay your insurance this month or the draft on your house note this month? While you're struggling to, literally be like Robin Hood, take as much money from this person and give to this much, but like robbing Peter to pay Paul, you see that they're wasting millions of your dollars. I think there should be an ordinance where if our government cannot actually balance their budget, they should not be able to claim taxes. They should not be able to pull taxes back from us. It's unfair. That's what the banks won't let you borrow any more money if you can't pay it back. Am I right? So why in the world do we give a pass to Congress to keep taking our money while they're wasting it, flying millions of dollars to Somalia, giving homeless people millions of dollars to do nothing but lay there in squalor? It's ridiculous. Now, before we start talking about these celebrities who I can't stand, and then my personal opinion on Joe, a word from today's sponsor. Now, the reason I want to bring this sponsor up, and the reason I'm going to keep on talking about this, is because the testimonials I received from Chapter. if you are 65 and older, or if you're about to be, or you have questions about Medicare and the supplements or parts, you have a parent on it, something, you need to check with these people. Chapter helps you understand and advise on several different plans and things that are going on and what you have and what you don't have. When you use Chapter, they save the average American $1,100 a year. Now here's the thing. I know you hear those kind of numbers and you're like, well, I've got to buy into something to get something. No. This is something that's going to save you money. It costs you nothing. It costs you a phone call for 15 minutes to realize either you have the best plan or you need a new plan. They can help you. They know every in and out of Medicare and understanding it. Let them help you navigate it. Now, some people may save only $800. Some people may save $1,600. But the average American is $1,100. Think about how much money that is. When you're 65, 66, we're talking about the government wasting all our money and how tough it is for us to go buy groceries. It may be wise to save as much money as you can, and this is one company that does it. Check with Chapter today. The number is on the screen. The link is in the description. Please check with them. Let them help you. Because I promise you, it's good to save money. And this is one place you can call, and it really does save you money. Call them today. Now I want to go to the Grammys and the Oscars and all these famous people and celebrities. I personally could care less. I love movies and shows now, but I don't care about their opinion. You know, why do we think that people who act like someone else for a living, they never are really their true identity? They act like someone else. That's what's made them extremely wealthy, is that they are good at being false. Do you get what I'm saying? So why do we give merit to them? Now, musicians, I love hearing them sing, but I like hearing them sing, not tell me propaganda. One thing we've learned is we've seen with the exposure of these files and a lot of other things dealing with, P. Diddy and all that, is that there's some shady stuff that goes on in Hollywood and behind the scenes with music and movies. Now, these same people who are absolutely shady, who wear the craziest, risque junk in front of your children and in front of your family, which personally I don't watch this stuff, but help me understand why we care what they think about our politics when they're filthy rich. Some of these people are making millions a day. They're making more than the government's taking in fraud. But they're making tons of money. Here's what yesterday's thing was. They got rounds of applause for people like Don Lemon, who went into a church and infiltrated a church. They gave him a round of applause. So basically they were spitting in the face of Christians. You saw the people wearing the little, get rid of ICE signs and things like that. So these same people who live in their high mansions with high walls could care less about you peasants that are living on Main Street that jobs are getting taken, or that your tax dollars are getting, taken from you to give to these people that shouldn't be here and that are here illegally. These celebrities are coming in and telling you from their high horse that you should be willing to work alongside these people and lose your jobs to them, along with AI and taxes and inflation and interest, all these other problems. You peasants better figure it out, and there's no point in actually having a government that actually wants to keep America safe. That's basically what these people are saying. Now, the reason I want to bring this up, and the reason this is kind of just took me the wrong way, is some of these people, like you got the Justin Biebers and the Hailey Biebers wearing this, and I'm not saying they're conservative or Christian, but some of these people consider themselves as, conservatives. Some of them even say they're Trump supporters. Some of them even, will try to stay out of the mix. But what I've realized when it comes to these kind of people, and when I watch these things or see these highlight reels, is mostly every one of them are sellouts because they're not willing to give it all up in the name of actually principles. Now, I don't like Nicki Minaj. I don't really like any of these artists. I think they're all sellouts. But I will say this, at least you have some that are willing to stand up and actually support Trump, or support what Trump is doing, or support the Christians. Now, should Nicki Minaj be a conservative juggernaut and a leader of the Christian movement? Absolutely not. Should Jelly Roll be the leader of the Christian movement? Absolutely not. But at least there's someone at least talking about some of these things. But for the 99.9% of them, they're literally dogging Christianity out, dogging, of course, our allies out, dogging the fact of Trump and keeping the border safe out, and every other conservative thing that you can think of. I'm tired of Americans acting like we have to listen to everything they say. Again, we're talking about people who sing, dance, and act like other people for a living. Why do we give them this fake reality that they have a say in what we should believe? Why do we allow them to influence us from Bel Air or from New York City or from Hollywood? Why? It makes no sense. One thing I've learned, because I'm a father, a human and a husband, I'm going to fail people. I'm not perfect. And so when you have people who, like us, that try to live a moral and values-centered life, who really try to live a Christian conservative life, we're going to still let you down. So these people who are living a life of abomination and depravity, why in the world do we care what they say? It's kind of like politicians. Most politicians are not good people. Why do we really care? And why do we allow them to coerce us into voting for them? It makes no sense. What I want to see is more people. Just think, if more people would actually be morally responsible and have values, how the world would be so different. Where have we gotten this so wrong? We're on our 250th birthday for our nation. And yes, we have a wonderful empire, and I'm thankful to be an American. But I don't think we realize how much we have and how blessed we've been. And with the exposure of these lists and these files, the exposure of all this demonic and pure evil things, the exposure of all the waste, fraud, and abuse, the more we know about this and the stuff, and then we don't do anything about it, and the more we actually try to gaze over it, and like these celebrities, they try to make it out like we're the bad people, the conservatives, the more I think our nation will fall into pure depravity. Now, that's why I want to talk about Joe Rogan and what he said. Now, do I believe Joe Rogan is a conservative Christian? This is my take and my opinion here. I don't. I believe that Joe is seeking something, because I think he's realizing each and every day that, he's looking for purpose. This man has everything he can imagine. He's had the biggest running podcast for 6 years. And I think he's had a lot of people on. And I think what he's learned is he's still looking for purpose. And that's as a spiritual thing. And we talk about this crazy world that we live in. There's been days I've made a lot of money, and there's been days I hadn't made a lot of money. There's been days I'm on the highest of the horse because I feel like I'm doing everything right, and there's days I haven't. But ultimately, I can't find my joy and hope in something in this world. All the money in the world doesn't give us that. That's why most billionaires are absolutely miserable, and that's why most of them are probably on this list, because they were looking to fulfill something that they couldn't be found. They need spiritual help. I love what Joe Rogan says. I want you to listen to this. And again, not that I'm giving him some kudos. I just believe that God is doing something amazing. And you think if these kind of people ever truly got saved and impacted the Christian movement and had a moral compass and values and actually just walked what they taught, think how much impact they would actually have. Listen to this. When I was younger, I was cynical to religion. And then as I've gotten older, one of the things that I've learned, and there's just an honest place for it, is that when I go to church, everybody is nice. Everybody cares. Everybody feels like they love me. He says the nicest people, and he used explicative. Again, this is why I believe that he is not quite there. He says when we leave church, I feel like we're missing out on them being nice again. If you see the teachings of Christ, I still can't find any fault in the teachings of Christ. So we're seeing people like him and Elon and Trump. They all kind of they talk scripture. They talk Christianese. They know maybe some of the right answers. But just think if these people truly had a life-changing spiritual moment, and think how much they could do for a revival in our nation and a reawakening. We thought after Charlie there'd be a great revival, and I think it's went the exact opposite way. I think we've seen the dangers of what we live in, and it's gotten even more evil, more depraved. It's time to see people like this, and hoping and prayerfully that these kind of people start getting changed and saved and converted, and they start impacting people the right way. It influences people the right way. Because we're in a time where, man, between the celebrities and the influencers, they're all telling you one thing or the other. The media's feeding you propaganda. You don't know who to believe. But that's why we always go back to saying spiritually, we should prep and make sure we're ready, because we're going to face a lot of tough things probably this year. We look at our markets, look at our financial problems, look at our world problems. There's going to be some headaches. What we've just realized, and what Glenn Beck exposed with all the fraud, with the politicians and celebrities telling us to do this and do that, and then all of a sudden when someone, the biggest podcaster, actually tells you there may be something about this Christ that actually is right. We need to learn to put our hope and faith and joy not in people, but in Jesus. That's how we'll end today. Personal take, my personal thing. No matter how bad it is, it's a Monday. No matter how bad it is, God's always there. And one person that won't let you down is Jesus. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.